there, Sandra here from Create in Spain. I'm going to show you today some uses for this plastic material which you can buy by the meter, or at least I buy it by the meter in our local stores. It's designed for tablecloths and things like that during the holiday season when you're eating outside a lot. And it's very useful for things other than that. Now this one is the heaviest one that I could find, and it's got a good weight to it. I cut it in half because the roll was actually twice this. It originally came in a roll which was probably like 160 or something, whatever. I cut it in half and then I wrapped it around a cardboard tube that I had so I could keep it relatively flat without folding it. But if you let it relax and you warm it very slightly, it flattens out anyway because it's a heavy weight one. The lighter the weight, the more they kind of crumple. So the heavier the weight you can get, the better. Now, if you've got a cutting machine, it cuts like a dream. It is so fun to cut this stuff. Some people like to use it to make transparent bags, so wash bags, bags for your toiletries and things when you're going on a flight, that sort of stuff, or even just transparent pencil cases and that type of thing, because it's fun. And you can put a mix of this and fabric together and stitch it together, and it's great. Now if you're stitching it by machine, you do want to get yourself a special foot if you're going to be doing much of it. I got 2 of them on Amazon for something like €3 or something silly. But there is a special plastic foot that you can buy. So the first one you may have seen before, and this is a simple key fob that I made. I did a cardboard base, put some vinyl design on it, added a few little scattered bits of bling, and then I actually hand sewed this one. I cut it out on my machine, but I hand sewed it, and I put one of these little poppers on so I can just put it onto a keychain if I want it, or I could keep this and then remove this one and change it out. So yeah, that's something very, very easy to do. The next thing that I've got is this. Now I've got quite a few of this sort of tools. I've got pliers and grips and all sorts of bits and pieces, and I keep them in a drawer. Now I keep them in a drawer because the chances are I'm just going to want to quickly reach for one rather delve into a bag and try and find the one I want. However, they do tend to become tangled up because they open, because these are spring loaded. And of course, when I bought them, they came in these hard packets with a hard plastic front and a cardboard back, and you can't keep them in there because you destroy the packet to get them out. I've tried putting elastic bands around here and it really doesn't work that well for very long, and so I've just made a sleeve which will stop the handles from opening if I put it through far enough. I don't care that this sticks out. And yes, if I really was bothered, I could have made a little envelope type case, even with a popper on it if I'd have wanted it to do the same thing. I didn't want to bother with that and I didn't need it. I just made these little simple sleeves that will contain the tools. Now the other thing that I've done an experiment on is with my iPad. Now I typically don't use a protective cover because I'm not overly fond of them, but some people do like to use a protective cover, and I discovered that you can use this. Now the advantage is, this is pretty tough, and if you're using it on your iPad it's going to be easy to apply because literally all you do is put it on and smooth it down, and as you can see it works pressure wise. You can tell that the iPad would actually work, so just take that off and then you can draw or write to your heart's content And it does make it quieter if you're concerned that, you know, every time you're tapping on here it's quite noisy. That's not quite as noisy, it's a softer sound. And of course, if you're concerned, for example, that a child is going to be a little bit rough with it, or maybe you want to let your child use it with their fingers, but you don't want to get sticky fingerprints all over your iPad, you could literally cut a piece of this and just lay it over the top of your iPad. Now, I'm sure that if you look online, you can probably even get the template to make it exactly the right size and shape in an SVG, and you could just cut it out on your cutting machine if you got one. But yes, that was an unusual thing. I thought it would be too thick to do something like that, but it turns out it isn't. And this stuff cost me, I think it was €6 for a meter, which was something like 150 centimeters wide. Lots and lots of iPads could be phased out with that. So yeah, an interesting discovery and not one that I expected to find. Another use is as a reusable tracing paper. I've just used a couple of these pens. These are pastel markers and they will draw on plastic, but they are water removable, so they're ideal if you've got children around. But you can draw on this like so, and you can actually stick it onto a window and it will just cling. So you could put a whole piece of this onto a window and let your kids loose with markers and let them have a bit of fun. And at the end of the day, you can just peel it off, wash it, and have it ready the next time for reusing if you so wish. The other thing you can do is use it to put small things like this behind it, and you can actually then stick that to the window. So if you've got something that you want to put on the window but you don't want to stick it on there, you can cut a piece of this larger than whatever it is you're trying to stick on, and again, it's going to grip onto the window. If you have any difficulty whatsoever in getting it to grip onto your window, just mist it with a little water and squidgy it on. Great fun for children when they're a little bit bored, and it saves you from having to do a big clean-up job afterwards. If you have a scan and cut and you have a design that you want to trace little bits of it out of a fancy paper, for example, you can take a pen and you can do your drawing like so. And once you've got your drawing done, you can then use your scan and cut to scan your image in and get your cut lines sorted out. So there are lots of uses for this stuff that you may not have actually thought of, and I'm sure you can think of a few more. So if you do happen to have any of this stuff around and you come up with any ideas, comment down below. I'll be very happy to share them. Take care now.